All right, shalom, shalom. This brother Yatazdak, hero of Israel. Before I get started, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Today we're going to go into Isaiah chapter 11, going into the Hebrew. So, Lord willing, you're edified, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Right? Shalom to the 144,000 of the nation of Israel, which consists of you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans today, right? 12 tribes, Yasha Allah in the Hebrew, Yah meaning he, Shar meaning prince, Allah meaning power or God, right? So we're out here prophesying, right, unto you Jakes about the things that are coming to America, Babylon the Great, which is what? Thermonuclear fire. Revelation 13:16 says he calls it both small and great, rich and poor to receive the charagma in the right hand and in the forehead. Right? These are the things written, and they must come to pass. Why? Because Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is not a man that he should lie. So this is what will come to pass. Martial law, FEMA camps, world economic collapse, so on and so forth. Right? But anyways, this is a fairly short chapter, Isaiah chapter 11. And so we're going to get right into it, right? Shalom to the great multitude as well that will be delivered out of America, Babylon the Great, via the chariot for the Most High God, or the so-called UFOs, UAPs today. These are the vehicles of salvation, right? The chariots of Israel, as prophesied in the volume of the book, right? But anyways, we can get right into it. Isaiah chapter 11. We're going to start at verse 1, right? Let's get right into it. Salakia. So the header of this chapter is the righteous reign of the branch, right? Which is Yahushai Hamashayak, right? We call Jesus Christ, the true name, which is in the ancient Hebrew tongue, right? Yah meaning he, Hawashai, deliverer, as written in the book of Matthew. They called him Yahushai because he shall deliver his people, right? And so let's start at verse 1, which says, and there will come out a rod from the stem of Jesse, and a branch, and will branch out from his roots, and a branch shall grow out of his roots, right? Now let's look at that word uh, for rod, Strong's H2415, right? That word is chatar, right? A rod, a branch, branch, twig, rod. Twig, rod, which is reminds me of the word shatar, which means officer. Let's look at that word. Strong's H7860, shatar, meaning it means officer, right? Now these are you always want to look for cognates within these various Hebrew words, right? Um, so let's go back, try to find similarities, right? So Hatar, which means the trunk of a felled tree, stock, stem, or means to cut down, right? In this case, out of the stem of Jesse, which is Yeshaya, which is King David's father. Now, Natazar, right, or Nazar, just means a Nazarite or to separate, right? There's just another way to say branch. From his roots will grow or flourish, right? But that word parad just means to be fruitful, right? Verse 2, Isaiah 11 and 2, and shall rest upon him the spirit of the Lord, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of the knowledge and of the fear of the Lord, right? Which is Wanacha al Yahweh, Rakah, Yahweh, Rakah, Hakama, Wabayana, Rakah, Aitaza, Wagabura, Rakah, Dayath, Waya Ra'ath, Yahweh. Verse 3, which that word Rayach, I believe it means to breathe, right? So it would actually read, and will breathe upon him, or you can say it will quicken him, right? Because that's what Yahweh did to the disciples when he breathed on them and he told them to receive the Spirit, right? The Rakah Kodash, the Holy Spirit, right? And there's other instances, but we're not going to go into that right now, right? So we're going to read it as, and will quicken him in the fear of the Lord, and will not, after the sight of his eyes, judge, and will not, from the hearing of his ears, reprove. That word is yakach, yakach. So it reads waha Wa Yahweh, Wa Yara'ath, Yahweh, Wa La'ah, Lama Ra'ah, Ayan Yawah, Ya Shapat, Wa La'ah, Lama Shamai, Azan Yawah, Ya Kayach, right, which is also his servants that have received the understanding, right, uh, that are able to break down the word, right, able to prophesy the 100% truth, right, starting with our elders and apostles at Great Millstone, right, starting with Elder Apostle Hard on down, right, that quick understanding, right, not judging after the sight, right, after the hearing, right, because the elect at the end of the day they're going to speak the 100% truth, right, because the truth you don't, right, for example, Yahweh Shai was not, and that's even in the law, right, not to have respect of persons, right. Yahweh Shai, when he dealt with particular of the Pharisees, right, he reproved them because, not because they were dressed lavishly or not, right, not judging after the sight, after the hearing, right. So we're not going to hear, right, sit back and take in consideration these, for example, these other camps and their doctrine, which they go off, right? Because at the end of the day, the truth is not up, like Elder Pastor says, it's not up for debate, right? So we're going to speak the 100% truth, right? Why? Because the Lord put it in our spirit, right, to speak the truth, right? So that's all that means, right? I wish I was not judging after the sight, right? He wasn't sitting there, right, around the Pharisees. Well, maybe the Romans, maybe we should ease the law, or change things because of the Romans, because that's what the Jews during that time feared. They feared that the Romans would take their place, right? Which is why they delivered up Yahweh Shai, right, to be crucified, right? So that's all. That's all that means. It's not, there isn't a super deep meaning. Like I always say, it's not always super deep, right? Isaiah 11:4, and will judge in righteousness the feeble, because that's what dal means. Sometimes you read it as Dalia, Dalah. Here it is used as a masculine plural absolute, right? And reprove, so I can get this out of the way. And will reprove in equity for the meek of the earth, and will smite the earth upon the rod of his mouth, right? Which you read about that in the book of Revelation, that sharp sword given to Yahushai that came out of his mouth, right? And that's how you know Jake wrote this, because right, Jake always says, well, there's a time when Jake said that razor tongue, right? Meaning you're slick with your words, right? But that doesn't mean an actual sword, right? Just like it says also in the book of Isaiah, the Lord will give me a sharp sword. Uh, let's look that up real quick, actually. Isaiah 49:2, which says, "And he had made my mouth like a sharp sword. The shadow of his hand had he hid me, and made me a polished shaft. In his quiver hath he hid me." Right? Which that is verse 2. Right? Again, let's talk about Yahushua, but right, his servants as well. Right? That sharp sword is what? Pure light, pure righteousness. Right? The ability to throw down these lies, the deception. Right? That Esau Edom has perpetrated in the earth. Right? Which is a so-called white man. Right? And that's what that sharp sword gives you, the ability to and to understand, not just to understand, but rightly divide the words of truth. Right? Which is why this goddamn devil, right? He knows that the remnant have awakened, right? He knows uh via the internet, right? His own people have spoken up against his own wicked reign, and right, the cat's out the bag, right? I believe that's in the book of Jeremiah, that that covering cast over all the earth is no longer a cast over all the earth, right? Why? Because we're at the times of the end, right? The truth being made manifest, the judgments of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? Uh, right. So as you can read in verse 6, that's talking about Yahushai, right? Then it goes on into speaking of the restoration and so on and so forth. We're going to go back to blue letter, and it says, verse 4, "And in the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked," right? Now that is actually going to happen, right? You read about that in Isaiah, or Salakia, Second Esdras chapter 13, right? When it paints the picture of Yahushai. Let's go into that real quick. Salakia, which is, it describes what will happen in the Valley of Decision, right? Which is Armageddon, which in the Hebrew is Har Magadwan. Har meaning mountain, Ma meaning of, God one troops. Second Esdras 13 and 3, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen upon him. Whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire, right? Which is going to be his actual voice, but, right, when it says in Isaiah chapter 11, shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, or Salakia, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked, right? The breath of his lips represents what we just read, and uh, the laser beams coming out of the fathership, right? Like you read it in the book of Habakkuk, right? There was the hiding of his strength, right? And the horns, which represents the lasers coming out of the chariots, right? The laser beams, right? Now it doesn't describe exactly, right, if it's gonna happen. For example, let's see, let's read on down. Second Ezra 13 and verse 8. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. And lo, I see saw the violence of the multitude that came. He neither lift up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only as I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, right? So just like John the Revelator described the missiles as stars falling from the heaven, right? Because these were ancient men, they didn't understand what they saw, right? And right, so that first line, which was verse 4, that is actually describing when Yahushua speaks, everything's good because his voice is as many waters, right? But reading on down, it's talking about the blast coming out of the chariot, right? Which is going to be the size of a mountain, meaning it's not exactly the size of a mountain, but that's the best way Ezra was able to describe it, right? Which Jake likes to get simple and say, well, why did he just say it was a chariot or the blast came out of the chariot? Because that's not how the Lord wanted it to be written, right? Verse 11, 2nd Ezra 13 and 11, they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, Salakia, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude, which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid, right? Now that could all be coming from the chariot, or it could be coming from the chariot. Yahushua could be sitting on the top of the chariot, you know, however he's gonna, right, emit a blast of energy, and the remnant, which will be delivered out of the destruction, placed back in their own land after they receive the angelic bodies, right? They're gonna be there as well. You read about that in the book of Malachi, right, which says that they came down and there was only ashes on the soles of their feet, because that's how the battle of Armageddon is going to quickly be ended by Yahushai, by the elect, right? So they're going to be there too, you know, blasting the tanks, the right, those that are arrayed for battle, right? So this is that vision that Ezra saw, right? Let's get that in the book of Malachi. Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. The day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root or branch. Now that's talking about the destruction, but let's read on down. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. He shall go forth and grow up as the calves of the stall, and you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. The day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. Right? Because that's how the battle of Armageddon is gonna be ended. Like I said, it's gonna be quick because they're not gonna stand a chance against the chariots, right? The holy angels and the elect, which they're all gonna be together, right? So Second Ezra 13 and 12. Afterward saw I the same man come down from the mountain and call unto him another peaceable multitude. Right, that mountain is Yahweh's chariot, right? Which is going to be bigger than the mountain, but that's the only way Ezra was able to describe it, right? Like I always say, it could possibly be like the size of Texas. It was huge. That's the point, right? It's not. We're not going to say, oh, okay, well, this is Mount so and so. Well, that's going to be the size. No, right? That's not what it's talking about, right? So let's go back to Isaiah chapter 11. So that's why it says, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked, right? That sharp sword, the rod coming out of his mouth, is this word that is we're speaking beforehand, the judgment of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? How things will come to pass, how things will transpire, right? So that's just how it's going to happen, right? And there's plenty of precepts on that, right? There's a precept that says the spirit of judgment and the spirit of burning, right? Uh, and that's pretty much it for that verse. Isaiah 11 and 5, and will be righteousness the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins, which is read as Wahaya, Tazadak, Azar, Mathiyawa, or Mathanyawa, Waha, Amanah, Azar, Halatazayawa. Isaiah 11 and 6, and will dwell the wolf with the lamb, and the leopard with the kid shall lie down, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a child little shall lead them. That word nahag actually means to drive them, like you drive cattle, right? So Elder Apostle Tahar said this before, right? The damn leopard is not going to hunt the hyena, and they're not going to be tearing themselves the flesh up, right? Right? They're no longer going to fight each other, right? The beast of the field will they're going to eat plants. They're not going to prey amongst each other anymore, right? They're not going to be carnivores, right? Because everything's going to be set in its order, right? Right. So there's not going to be a damn hyena hunting eating birds, and, right? Snakes eating birds. That's no longer going to happen. The beasts of the field are going to eat vegetation. That's going to be their nourishment, right? So it reads Wagar Za'ab Ain Kabash Wa Namar Ain Gadya, and a kid is a young goat. Ya Rabataza Wa Igal Wa Kapyar Wa Wa Marya Yachadwa Wa Nayar Quatan Nahag Bama. Isaiah 11 and 7, and the cow and the bear shall feed together on, as in on grass, greenery. They shall lie down. They shall lie down with their young ones, and the lion, uh, like the herd, will eat straw or provender, because that's what that word means, taban. So it reads, Wapara, Wadab, Sarai, Yana, Yakadwa, Yarabataza, Yalad Yahan, Wa Arya, Kabakwar, Yaakol, Taban. And shall play the suckling child upon the hole of the asp, and uh upon the den of the asp shall the weaned child put his hand he shall put, right? That word is can you guys leave the door open for me? Oh. Now let's look at that word shy. Strong's H8173, because it doesn't actually mean play, right? As in press play or play the YouTube video, right? That's not what it's talking about, right? This is actually means the part of this speech is a verb, primitive root to delight, to be spoofed, to be caressed, right? Again, it's used in a variety of applications, right? Shawai also means deliverance, to be made wide or roomy, right? Just like tazar means to be made narrow or straight, right? Shawai also means to regard, right? Which you read about that in the book of Genesis when the Lord had regard unto Abel's sacrifice. That word is shaya, right? It's also used figuratively to rejoice. There's other instances, right? Sometimes it's read as shaya or here shy. I believe you read about that in the book of Proverbs as well, when Yahushai, through the Spirit, spoke about him being next to the Lord during the creation as one that rejoiced before him. I believe that's Proverbs chapter 8, right? Uh, to fondle, please, amused, delight, just means to delight, right? Or to, the actual word for fondle is mashash, which is, we're not going to go into all that right now, but the word yanak just means suckling child, which that word just means to suck, like when the child sucks on his mother's breast. That word har or hawar, sometimes it means white or bleached white, right? Uh, Sometimes it means bird stung. In this case, it means a hole, as that of a viper. Says the root means to bore, right? Just to give you an idea of what these words mean. Salakish. 1 second. The word for asp is pathan. Strong's H6620. A viper, an asp. Venomous serpent, cobra, a snake, an adder, basically an asp. This means viper. Kamal means to weaned or weaned child, right? Den, ma, ma, awara, Isaiah 11 and 9 says, they shall not hurt and shall not destroy in all the mountain of my holiness, because shall be filled the earth with the knowledge of the Lord, like waters to the sea, which cover them. La'a yaraiwa wa la'a ya shach shachiathwa bakal har kwadashia kaya mala'a ha'arataza daya ata yahawa kamayim layam ma kasiyam. Now, you always read about that, right? Like I read in the previous chapter, right? Zechariah chapter 14, Revelation chapter 22, Ezekiel chapter 47. The book of Habakkuk says the same thing. The world will be filled as the knowledge of the Lord will cover the earth as waters, right? It's talking about now, but it's also talking about in the kingdom of heaven, right? Uh, because the law is going to go out of where Jerusalem, right? Out of his people, right? Order being restored back in the earth. Which is why it says, as the waters cover the sea. That same similitude is used in Ezekiel chapter 47, Revelation chapter 22, Isaiah chapter 10, and so on and so forth, right? Isaiah 11 and 10, and it shall come to pass in the day that is, there shall be a root of Jesse, which will stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles they shall seek, and will be his rest glorious. Right? So yeah, uh, so it says, "To it shall the Gentiles seek." Is that talking about a Moabite, right? That's gonna say, okay, well, you got me, you know, you. I'm convinced. I'm going to start keeping the law. That's not what it's talking about. That's the Gentile. We're the Gentile, right? Why? Because we fell into a Gentile state of mind, right? Those that we return, uh, there's another scripture that says, "Strangers shall be joined unto them; they shall cleave to the house of Jacob." That's talking about us that are returning to our heritage, right? Just like you read in the New Testament, there was Jews and there was Gentiles, but they were the same nation. It was the same people. Just like the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans, right? Which are the Israelites, right? We all fell short of serving Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right? And that is the mystery of the Gentiles, right? That this is what Paul the Apostle was speaking about, right? The fact that, right, what was it? During the time of during the time of Yahushai, Paul the Apostle, going back 200 some years, I believe it was either 200 or 150 during the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, right? There was a persecution, and a lot of the Jews stopped keeping their customs, and they started following the manner of the Greeks, right? Let's look that up. Antiochus Epiphanes, 164 BC, right? So let's just say like 200 years, right? Which the Jews separated themselves from them because they left off the manners, laws, and customs of their forefathers, right? Our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, according to the seed, right? Not Ishmael, not Esau. Scriptures say he put by Esau and made Jacob a great nation. Ishmael was blessed, but he was blessed with a as a great nation as well, which is why you go to the Middle East and he dwells amongst his brethren, right? He's got all that oil, right? The Lord uh, blessed him as well, but that was it. That's exactly what it was. It was a blessing. Esau was blessed with the fat things of the earth to subdue the earth with the sword, right? But the promise is according to the seed, right? The promises of what? The kingdom of heaven, right? Like Apostle Ramlab recently said, all you nations, you had your time to rule, right? So that's the root of Jesse, Yahushua, his words, the volume of the book. That's what we're seeking, right? That ensign is the scriptures. That's why it says in his rest shall be glorious, right? Yeah, that's a lot. Isaiah 11 and 11, which is the restored remnant. Now, I went over this before. This is talking about after the elect are delivered here, there's going to be those remaining throughout the other parts of the earth, which are going to be preserved some way, somehow, right? Which is part of that standard that the Lord is going to lift up, right, against the nations when they shall come in as a flood, right? Not only is that going to happen here, it's going to happen for the those that remain, right? Like I read in that Second Ezra chapter 13, some were bound, Salakia, and some were carried and brought back. Let's talk about those that remain, the Jake that remains after destruction, brought back by the elect, and the heathens that survive the third woe, right? which they're going to go directly into slavery and the wicked elites, right? Isaiah 11:11, and it shall come to pass in the day that is, again, the Lord shall place his hand to recover, but that word quana means to redeem, to the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros, right? Pathros is up there, right? Just to give you an idea where Europe is. Cush, right? You know where that is. From Elam, from Shinar, near Babylon, which is another word for Babylon. From Hamath, from the islands of the sea, right? Which reads Wahaya by Yawam, Ha Hawa, Ya Sayap, Adanya, Shanyath, Yadwa, Lakwanath, Atha, Sha'ar, Amwa, Ashar, Yashar, Ma Ashawar, Wama Matazarium, Wama Pathras, Wama Kawash, Wama Ayalam, Wama Shanyar, Wama Hamath, Wama Ayaya, Hayam. So Ayah, that means an island, right? Ayaya, islands, plural. And will lift up an ensign for the nations, verse 12, and shall gather those driven out of Israel and the dispersed, the scattered of Judah, he shall gather from the four corners of the earth. Kanap, that actually means wing, for the four wings of the earth. It's another way to say corner, right? So it reads Wa Nasha'a Nas Lagawayim Wa Asap Nadachya Yasha'ala Wana Patazath Yahabuda Yakobatazah Ma Arabai Kanapath Ha Ratazah. Why? Because, right, there's going to be northern and southern kingdom that will remain, that will be gathered. Simple as that, right? Again, that ensign is right, the Lord returning, the elect being delivered, given spiritual power, fighting in the valley of decision, and then going and gathering the remnant, right? Because those that remain, they're gonna see all that. They're gonna see, I wish I returned, right? That's gonna be the talk of the town. Babylon thrown down, right? That's the ensign in this case, right? It's not always, oh, it's the word. No, right? You gotta, like I said, you gotta be able to discern, right? because context supersedes etymology, right? I didn't understand that at first, but eventually I got it because I dealt with a brother from IUIC. He tried to throw that at me, but when you think about it, that makes sense. This is a good example. The fact that you read ensign or banner, right? It doesn't always mean one thing, right? So, anyways, and it's not that hard to tell, you know. You just gotta know what you're talking about, right? It's not that hard, you know. You gotta paint the picture correctly. Isaiah 11:13. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. Right? A good example of that is a recent presidential debate. Right? When they're talking about the Northern Kingdom, we want to take black jobs. What is a black job, anyways? What are you trying to say? That's what Jake is saying, you know, because right, the world knows, right? If you know, you know, right? And it's no longer if you know, you know. People just know because we live in the age of information, right? Jake is not in the field anymore. Jake is not, right? He don't have yokes of iron on his neck. He's not illiterate. He can read now. As a matter of fact, Jake is doing. They got good jobs, right? You know. So what the hell are you trying to say, right? And the Lord made it that way, right? In order for His work to be fulfilled. So it says, "And the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off." What is that talking about? Well, that's just. It simply means that Jake is not in bondage, right? Like he once was, right? Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim, right? If you're in the truth, because if you're in the truth, then that's your brethren, right? That's your people, right? Jake in the world, I mean, they still do that, right? So it says, and will turn back the jealousy of Ephraim, and the adversaries of Judah, they shall be cut off. Ephraim will not be jealous unto Judah, and Judah will not distress unto Ephraim. Wasara, Quana, Salakia, Parium, Tazwa, Taza, Hazararya, Yahawada, Yakarathwa, Aparium, La'a Yakwana, Atha, Yahawada, Wa Yahawada, La'a Yatazar, Atha, Aparium. And it's a beautiful thing, right? Because we're in a new day. This is a new day, right? And it's just the Lord's work is wonderful when you think about it, right? So the Lord said, "Rejoice," right? Because your salvation draweth nigh, right? Back then it wasn't nigh, right? In ancient times it wasn't nigh, right? But it is nigh, even near at the door, right? Because you got the elections coming up, right? You got Nero, which we believe is Donald Ronald Donald, right? And well, he already said if you're found causing anti-Semitism, there's a law that he wants put in place where they'll put you to death, right? And we need these things to happen because it's gonna forward prophecy, right? Verse 14, and will fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines towards the west together to spoil them to the sons of the east, right? Edom and Moab shall place their hand, shall send out, their hand, and the sons of Ammon, shall obey them, right? Let's see if we can get some commentary, right? So that's that just means that when Jake is at his how do you say it is in his right mind, right? Everything's gonna be set in order, right? Because that's why it says the outcast being gathered, the envy of Ephraim, so that shall depart. The every says the Judah shall be cut off, because Jake is gonna be in his right mind, right? Gonna fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines, right? That's talking about the land, right? They're not gonna go up on the Philistine shoulder and fly on it, right? No, you're gonna have Jake going to and fro, or you know, and putting you damn heathens in order on the chariots, right? And right, when it says we're going to spoil them, or right, there's other precepts that say, rob them, those who robbed you, or the riches of the Gentiles will be gathered unto you. We're not going to go, we're not going to dig in the earth and, or go and, okay, that's, we're go to these other nations. Okay, this is ours, this is our gold, this is our gold. We're not going to have to do all that. Fly around and just pick up gold and bring it back. No, the nations are going to bring it as an offering, right, to Jerusalem, right? So we're not going to sit there, we're not going to be like, give me it back, give me that, right? Snatch it off their hands like snatching candy from baby, right? They're gonna bring that. That's how we're gonna spoil them, right? So when it says we're gonna have wives, right? Multiple wives and all that, right? That's riches. That's gonna be automatic. That's gonna come automatically, right? So that's why it says, spoil them of these together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom, Moab, children of Ammon shall obey them, right? Right? Because we're going to put hands on you heathens, right? Via what? The rod of iron, right? We're not going to slap you around with it. That just means, right? We're gonna rule with an iron fist, meaning you're not going to be allowed to go off, right? And you're going to like it, right? So it says, wa pa kathap palshath palshathium yama yachadwa yabaza Ata Banya Kwadam Adawam Wama Waab Wash Mashalach Yadma Wabanya Amwan Ma Shamaitham. Verse 15, right? So it's not always super deep. Oh, they're going to fly on the Philistines, and, right? No, we're going to be traveling in the chariots on the coast of the Philistine land, right? You're going to see chariots going in and out of Jerusalem, right? Verse 15, and will destroy the Lord unto the tongue of the sea Egyptian, and will shake with his hand upon the rivers, uh, in a mighty wind. Let's look at that word ayam. To glow, heat just means to glow. The glowing of glowing wind, right? An example, like in Dragon Ball Z, they throw the energy blast, and not only is it light, is it bright, but it causes winds when it hits its target, right? Because that's what the elect are going to be able to do. Lift up their hand and boom, energy blast, or through the chariot, right? A glowing heat, right? And it will smite the seven streams and make a way upon the sandal or upon the feet. That's because that word Nael just means shoe, right? Destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea. What does that mean? That means the 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 language is going to be the Hebrew, and that's it, right? All philosophies that come with these other languages, and that's going to be done away with, right? And with the mighty wind, he shall shake his hand over it, right? Let's talk about the Israelite man, woman, and child, right? Which will be in angelic bodies, right? To smite the seven streams, that's just talking about, right? Right, the ability to do what Moses was able to do and more, right? To cause the waters to go up, to congeal, right? And right. So let's say when the Feast of Tabernacles come, right? We can right, we could just make the waters, kind of like, well, it says in the scripture, it says that those who do not come up to the Feast of Tabernacles, there shall be no water in the land, right? That's just talking about the power we're gonna have over the elements and the rule and what is going to be the tongue of the earth. That's all that's talking about. It's not no super deep parable, you know. So it says, Waha Haryam Yahweh Atha Lashawan Yam Matazariam Waha Nayab Yadwa Al Hanahor Ba Ayam Raka Wahaka La Shabaya Naholyam Waha Daryak Ba Nalium. Now let's look at the commentary, Isaiah 11 and 15. Yep, just like I said. It says here, renewal wonders transcending those of Exodus, right? Right, so let's say it's time to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. You got the nations pilgrimaging, right, to Jerusalem. They're not going to have to cross the river no more, right? We're going to be able to move the streams or cause them to congeal, or like they got or just cause it to flow faster, right? exactly like it says, right? Let's see what else we can glean off this. Actually, that's pretty much it for that. So that's what it says, right? That's exactly, and that's, you see, we prove what we say, right? Bring out history, archaeology, historical references, right? We're not just pulling these things out, or speaking our own mind, right? Tawali Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, right? for this marvelous light, right? Isaiah 11 and 16, right? So yeah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kakwadash, right? The water for our elders and apostles at Great Millstone, right? Elder Apostle Tahar, Elder Apostle Gabar, Elder Apostle Ramlab, Elder Apostle Rakai, right? The main four and right, Bishop Zachariah, right? And all the brothers that are out there laboring, right? In sincerity and in truth, right? And the other camps, there's some sincere Akim in the other camps, but for the most part, right? Um, that's pretty much it, right? So verse 16, the last verse says, "And there will be a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like which it was unto Israel in the day of their ascending up from land of Egypt." Wahayatha, Masalah, La Sha'ar, Amwa, Shor, Yasha'ar, Ma Ashawar, Ka Ashar, Hayatha, La Yasha'ala, Ayawam, Ilatwa, Ma Arataza, Matazarium, right? And that highway is what? The 100% truth, right? And and this also represents those that are going to be brought back, right? Because a highway is more like an expressway, right? They're not going to walk back to Jerusalem from the land of Ham, right? We're going to go there and scoop them up, right? It's going to be a beautiful thing to witness, you know? Just like in a day when he came up out of Egypt, right? Through signs, wonders, right? Uh, Ba'ashem Mashayak Yahushai. So with that, this is Isaiah chapter 11, going into the Hebrew. So Lord willing, you ratify this brother Yatazadak here of Israel. As always, giving honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, Yasha Allah, Abad Babal, and Shalom. Abad Babal, Shalom.